Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am Dara Newton, and I am the Senior Associate Vice President for Outreach and Access at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley and serve as your ApplyTexas 4-year co-chair. It is November the 6th, 2025. The time is 10:10 a.m., and I'd like to call the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee meeting to order. Before we get started, we want to formally welcome our newest ApplyTexas Advisory Committee members. Our new committee members were approved by the board in July. They will serve a 2-year term from September 1 of this year through August 31st of 2027. Our new committee members are Raymond Blakely, Connie Coleman, Araceli Duran, Amanda Ritchie Etheridge, Craig Howard, Courtney Lundgren, Nicholas Medina, and Felicia Turner. And I hope I pronounced everyone's name correctly, so forgive me if I mispronounced anything. Each of you will have an opportunity to introduce yourself shortly during roll call. We also have a few additional guests joining us today. Brandon Griggs, Assistant Commissioner of College and Career Advising, Jocelyn Rose, Senior Director, Operations and Support, Laura Guggen, Senior Director, Content and Engagement, Claudette Jinks, Director of Application Services, and Amy Zeigner, Product Manager. We will now take roll call of the committee members to confirm quorum and that everyone is present to be able to conduct the meeting. We are going to follow the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee list that goes in alphabetical order. I will nudge David first, and then if you will follow your advisory committee list and introduce yourself and your institution, that will be, along with your title, that is how we will get the morning started with roll call. So David, if you will start for us, let's make sure he is on. I thought I saw him earlier.
So I'm David Barron, the Vice President of Enrollment Management at the University of Texas at Tyler.
Thank you. Raymond?
Hi, Raymond Blakely, Assistant Vice Provost of Admissions at the University of Texas at Austin. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Megan Brinks with Midland College. I'm the Dean of Recruitment and Student Aid, I'm showing that my video is disabled, so happy to turn on video. It's not letting me, just FYI.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, I'm experiencing that as well.
Okay.
We will, Claudette, while we work on video, we'll continue with roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Shelby, I'll have to flip through to make sure if Shelby's not here. Okay, we'll go to Connie. Jorge?
Good morning, everyone. Jorge Dimas, Director of Admissions at Laredo College.
Araceli. Okay, I got that, Araceli. Thank you very much. Jamie, I know I saw your name earlier.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Jamie Hansard. I serve as Vice President for Enrollment Management at Texas Tech University.
Craig?
Good morning. I'm Craig Howard. I'm the Director of Admissions Processing at Sam Houston State University.
Fantastic. Is Maria on with us today?
I'm here. Good morning. Maria, Director of Enrollment Services for Amarillo College.
Courtney?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Courtney Lundgren, and I serve as the Executive Director of Student Communications and Transition Programs at the University of Houston Downtown.
Nicholas?
Good morning. My name is Nicholas Medina. I serve as the Director of Admissions for Collin College.
Amanda?
Hi, I'm Amanda Ritchie with Angelo State University, where I'm the Director of Admissions.
Crystal? She's on. Okay. Next up would be Stephanie. Okay. Felicia? Kristen? And then Lou.
Good morning. I'm Lou Waterhouse. I serve as the Director of Admissions and Enrollment Services at Lone Star College.
Fantastic. And is our student representative on today? I don't believe she's joined us. I'm going to ask, I know Claudette is working. I believe we have enough and we have met quorum to be able to move forward. Okay, perfect. Since we are meeting virtually, we will review some meeting guidelines to help us manage the meeting for today. As a reminder, this meeting is an open meeting. It is being broadcast for the public and being recorded for later viewing. Please be sure to mute your microphone when not speaking. We have established a quorum via roll call. And to keep quorum, we must keep your camera on at all times, which we are working on if others are just joining us. If you are not visible, then it tends to cause us to no longer have quorum and we will need to stop the meeting. But this is one instance where we will continue. There will be a time for breaks as needed, but please be sure to return promptly to proceed with committee business. To manage the committee discussion via Zoom, please unmute and identify yourself prior to speaking for the record. We ask that you wait for one person to finish before speaking. Otherwise, comments may be muddled or unclear. Should the conversation become unmanageable, we will direct you to use the raise hand feature. We'll only use this feature if really needed. For this meeting, when the committee will vote on items, motions will be voted by raising your hand in the camera, which we may adjust depending upon what happens here, or you can come off mute and say no if you oppose. At the end of the meeting, please be aware that the meeting is still being recorded. Upon adjournment, we ask that you keep comments limited so staff can stop the recording. Are there any questions before we move on? And Claudette, I'm going to pause for a second to make sure we're ready to continue.
Yes. Hold on just a moment.
Okay, perfect. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have everybody online with us today. Thank you for joining.
Okay, to get continue the meeting while we're handling some technical difficulties, I will go over agenda item number 2. Thank you. So you should have received an email from Deanna Foos yesterday with some of the meeting materials. Among those was a document that was labeled ATAC Member Overview. This document outlines the tasks that are assigned to the committee and the rules that provide oversight of the ApplyTexas system. As the committee begins its work this year, I just wanted to walk through this information, especially for a lot of you new people that are have joined us. The purpose of the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee is to discuss and recommend changes or enhancements to the ApplyTexas application system. The ApplyTexas system includes 3 portals. Of course, many of you know the applicant portal, and this is where students apply to colleges and universities. Then there's the administrative portal, or admin portal as we call it, where institutions can view and modify their admissions applications. And then we have the counselor suite, which is also part of the ApplyTexas system. This allows high school counselors and some authorized users to view their students' ApplyTexas application progress along with their financial aid filing status. In addition to these system portals, the committee also supports initiatives that help strengthen student participation and access to higher education. As committee members, you all represent all institutions and users of the ApplyTexas system, not just your individual institution. So each member here serves 2-year terms and will be representative of all of the institutions across the state that utilize ApplyTexas. So as outlined in rule, the task of this committee is to include and provide feedback and recommendations on technical and functional revisions to the ApplyTexas applications and the system as a whole. You're also responsible for the development of any training materials for users or supporting those training materials. Recommendations related to admission policies and other activities necessary for maintaining and improving the ApplyTexas system. So to accomplish this work, the committee meets at least twice each year or can meet more frequently if you all choose to. You normally discuss operations and recommended changes during this time. The coordinating board staff, the ApplyTexas product and technical teams work with this committee and collect and review ApplyTexas change information submitted from the field. So we do have a form that can be submitted to our agency or to any of you in order to identify any possible changes to the application system or recommended changes and enhancements. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, there is an online change request form. It's just simply a link. It's intended to capture any recommendations for enhancements or improvements to the ApplyTexas system from the field. We will typically, when we get information from our help desk and they want to make some improvement, we usually send this form out. We're going to try to also include this on our webpage and make it available within the admin portal as well. But there is a process for making those change requests. So if there's any institutions that are interested, they typically will send that request through the online form. So when an institution or other stakeholder does submit a change or enhancement request through the ApplyTexas change request form, our product team will receive and review the change request, and then they'll determine the requirements with the ApplyTexas team and the requester. Then they'll determine the level of effort it'll take, whether it's a small, medium, or large change, and then they prioritize the request for future sprint and deployment. So the product team does present the recommended priorities to this committee, and they ask for feedback during this time as well. The staff and the ApplyTexas teams also provide updates and recommendations to the committee on potential system enhancements. So from there, the staff does determine which recommendations should move forward and classifies them into two different categories. So the first is if it's a change that would need to be referred to negotiated rulemaking committee because it may affect admissions policies. The second is if it'll impact only the operational aspects of the ApplyTexas system. So that's pretty much the system changes, but I do want to draw your attention to the major ApplyTexas events that is on page 3 of that packet. This page outlines a tentative schedule of committee activities for the year. Typically, the committee meets in the fall, usually in October, late October or November, as we're meeting today. It just depends on member availability and if we can come to a quorum. For each meeting, I work with the ApplyTexas co-chairs to develop the agenda, and then the committee members can also suggest additional agenda items at the end of each of the meetings. Additionally, the co-chairs and coordinating board staff do prepare and provide a summary report of the committee's work. It's typically presented to the coordinating board's committee on academic and workforce success in October of each year. Sometimes we report directly to this committee or it's on consent, but either way, we provide a report to that committee for review. The committee meets again in the spring, usually in February, sometimes April or May. And at that time, the second year members that are on the committee do cycle off the committee. So then later in April or early May, the coordinating board will request nominations for new committee members to fill those positions. And those selected are approved by the board in July, and then they're notified prior to the start of the next academic year. Lastly, the committee also works closely with TACRO, which is the Texas Association for Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers. And then we can often present during that time. We present updates, ApplyTexas updates at those meetings as well. So that's a brief overview of the committee's purpose and responsibilities. I'll open it up for any questions. I do apologize that we can't be on video right now. We're still working on that technical difficulty, but I did want, if you feel you have any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand. I think we can use that feature in the chat, and then you can come off mute. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you. You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudette. We will move on to agenda item number 3, which is decision and possible action to select our 2-year co-chair for 25, 26, 26, 27. So each year, the 2-year or 4-year co-chair rotates off the committee. This year, we will need to fill the 2-year co-chair position. Co-chairs are responsible for conducting meetings, assisting in the coordination of professional development, including possible summer ApplyTexas meetings at TACRO, and reporting to the board in October of each year, like Claudette was explaining. The co-chair serves a 2-year term. The co-chair will work closely with myself and the coordinating board staff to develop the ApplyTexas committee agenda and meeting materials for each meeting. So I would like to open the floor for nominations for your 2-year ApplyTexas co-chair. And we can take both nominations from the floor, or you can self-nominate. So if you will take a few minutes to review the list provided in your packet today, I'll give you a few minutes to review, and then if there is a nomination from the floor, we'll take a nomination from the floor, and we will use, I guess the hand raise is best, Claudette, at this moment in time, for nominations.
Yeah, still want to see if anyone else has opportunity to turn on their camera. If not, just put it in the chat. But you can raise your hands for visibility. That'd be great. And please feel free to come off mute to make your nominations as well.
Don't be shy. You can self-nominate also if you have an interest.
There, hi, for the record, Jorge Dimas from Laredo College. Just want to make sure that we're cleared. It has to be somebody whose term will be ending 2027, or could it be somebody from next year so that their term is going to be ending next year?
So it should be someone whose term is ending in 2027. Claudette, I don't know if there is not someone with that term, like what options we might have.
You can nominate anyone, and what will typically happen is that person will stay on another year if there's interest in doing so.
If that is the case, I would like to nominate Ms. Maria Juarez, the Director of Enrollment from Amarillo College.
Okay, we have a nomination for Maria. I'm going to give a few minutes. Are there any other nominations?
Maria, do you accept the nomination before we
Yes.
move forward? I know we can't see everyone, so that's why I'm going ahead and asking.
Thank you, Claudette.
Yes, I'm happy to accept the nomination. Thank you.
Okay. Maria Juarez has been nominated for the 2-year committee co-chair. Do I have a motion to accept Maria as the 2-year committee co-chair?
So moved.
Raymond Blakely, UT Austin.
Hold on, I
moves
have
a question.
I'm sorry, I may have misunderstood. This is Amanda Ritchie with Angelo State. Even though her term ends in 2026?
Yes, so
Yes.
the
Okay.
rules do allow for a 3-year person, so she would be able to extend for another year.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion from Raymond Do we have a second?
Nicholas
Shelby
Medina, Collin
Claire.
College, second.
I heard multiple names. Nicholas Medina, did you say from Collin College? Did you second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you popped up on my screen. So that's, and then thank you for whoever the other second was. I just didn't catch it. So we have a second. It has been moved by Raymond and seconded by Nicholas. Since we are virtual, we will need to seek a vote to accept Maria as your 2-year committee co-chair. We're going to do by a thumbs up. Is that good, or like a hand raise, or do we need to like actually hear accepts
Yeah, let's
verbally?
go ahead.
Click.
Let's go ahead and go for a roll call.
Roll
I
call?
know this
Okay.
is not, it's inconvenient, but we'll go ahead and make this work.
Okay. David. I'm gonna go in alphabetical
Yes.
order. Thank
David
you.
Barron is here.
Thank you. And you approve. You are a yes for Maria.
I am a yes.
Thank you. Raymond, you motioned to accept, so I'm going to make the assumption, but will you say yes if you
Yes.
accept her? Thank you.
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Connie. No, Connie is not here. Jorge,
Yes.
Araceli, I know you can speak, but you may drop in the chat. Jamie,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
you can vote for yourself. Yes. Courtney,
Yes.
Nicholas, you seconded, but just to make sure.
Yes.
Amanda, Richie, Etheridge.
Yes.
Thank you. No. No. Lou.
Yes.
And then I'm also a yes, and I think I have everybody that is in attendance that has voting privileges at this time. Did I miss any committee member that maybe joined after we did first roll call?
Yes. Shelby Claridge, A&M Central Texas, and yes.
Oh, thank you very much, Shelby, for letting me know that you are here. Okay. With that, it has been accepted. And so thank you, Maria, for becoming our 2-year co-chair for the ApplyTexas committee. We will move on to agenda item number 4. And in your meeting materials, you'll find minutes from the May 29th, 2025 meeting. If you will please take a few minutes to review, and then let me know if there are any changes or edits. I'll give a short pause just for a review.
Does the highlight, sorry, Megan Brinks here from Midland College. Does the highlight in the first paragraph mean anything that we should be aware of?
No.
Thank you.
I'll pause for just another few seconds. Are there any other changes to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
Nicholas Medina, Collin College, so moved.
Thank you, Nicholas at Collin College. Do I have a second?
Shelby Claridge, A&M Central Texas, I second.
Thank you, Shelby. And do we need to do, we do not need to do roll call for this one, Claudette. Can we just see if
No, you can
anybody
just-
abstains?
Yes, if anybody
Wait,
abstains.
yeah, if anybody abstains or does not approve, would you please say no? Okay. Hearing none, I will say motion passes and we will move on to agenda number 5. Agenda number 5 is related to updates from the Free College Application Week. Free College Application Week kicked off on Monday, October the 13th and ended on October 19th of last month. I will turn it over to Brandon Griggs to share some of our outcomes from this inaugural event. Brandon.
Hello. Thank you all for joining today's meeting, and I'm certainly excited to share some of the outcomes from the Free College Application Week. It's a bummer the video is not working. I'm definitely a video person, but nonetheless, I think for this meeting, we'll kind of get through it without it. So for Free College Application Week, this was the first year that we had Free College Application Week. And I know that there was a lot of excitement going into the week. For comparison of the same week last year, which was the 42nd week, we had approximately 44,000 college applications submitted. And so going into this year, we had no idea how many college applications were submitted, if it was going to be double or triple. But given that last year there was 44,000, this year we significantly surpassed that with 263,000 college applications, which was enormous. And so that was about a 495% increase in college applications submitted for that week. So it's definitely something to be proud about. We realized that there were a couple of hiccups during the week, which I can talk about in just a moment. But one of the things going into this week that we were very excited about was this was going to be able to provide access to students to submit applications who maybe wouldn't otherwise have the means to do so. And so I know affordability was certainly a huge interest for our students across the state. One of the things that we're excited to really see from this is the intention behind the program. I think there were some that were wondering, if students going into ApplyTexas during this week, are they just going to apply to all colleges? And that certainly was not the case whenever we looked at the data with approximately 60,000 students submitting college applications during that week. We saw that the average student submitted only 3 college applications. And when we looked at the institutions that these students applied to, it was really a mixture of your R1s and your comprehensive regional institutions. And so one of the stories that tells us is that students really took this program seriously and they applied with intention. And so that's definitely a success indicator for us as we look at Free College Application Week. As some of you know, there were some issues with ApplyTexas during that week. And some of that had to do a little bit with security and bot activity. And it's interesting going through different situations like this and the things that you learn. One of the things I learned was usually on all of our websites, there's anywhere between 50 to 60% bot activity. And not all bots are bad, right? So there are some good bots. Bots that really scan websites for data analytics, some positive things. But we did notice some bot activity. And so as a result of this week, one of the things that we implemented, which we're very happy to have implemented, is tighter security roles within ApplyTexas, and then also implemented Cloudflare CAPTCHA on all of the ApplyTexas pages. And so historically, it was on our account reset password site, but now it's implemented on all the pages. And so one of the things that we know our users and our institutions will see is just greater security within ApplyTexas into the future. So we're definitely excited about that change and definitely a lot of lessons learned for us going into next year for next October as we look at the next Free College Application Week. But those are generally the outcomes from Free College Application Week. I'm certainly open to take any questions that the group may have.
This is Maria from Amarillo College. We don't have an application fee, so it was a little hazy for us on what kind of activity we would see. But then a couple of weeks before the free application week, we started to hear murmurings from our local schools that they were postponing their traditional early application dates until free week, just, to make it easier for students, of course, which makes perfect sense. But so there was probably a lot of extra activity that would have otherwise happened earlier in our application period, just because schools intentionally made this an opportunity for students to do a kind of a one-time application to multiple schools. And it did kind of bog down our system a little bit. It bottlenecked basically our application process. But one of the challenges that we were finding was that students where they were getting kind of booted out of the system was when they were trying to create their profile. So there was a suggestion at our institution if maybe there could be some sort of nudges or invitations for students to create their accounts earlier so that even if they decide to postpone the actual submission of the application until free application week, that maybe some of that the bandwidth wouldn't be as impacted by a bunch of students creating accounts on that week, that they would have maybe already had their accounts and just ready to submit their applications during the application period, the free application week, I mean.
Yeah. No, and that's definitely some good feedback, and we can certainly look at our marketing for the next year. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Hi, this is Amanda with Angelo State University, and that was some great feedback you just shared. I was actually surprised to hear that on average, students were only applying to 3 schools, because I don't know that was reflected to be true at Angelo State. We suddenly had 80 applications from a school that we have not had applications from before. So we had actually reached out to them. They're over 420 miles from us, so the likelihood of them coming here was probably pretty slim. And they said that they had their entire senior class apply to 10 different institutions. And so I don't know if with some of the marketing or communication and to the high schools about this, was that purposeful for students to apply to 10 different institutions because of, I mean, it took us 2 weeks to catch up on applications for our team. And it's also hard because then you have those that were coming in and now paying the app fee. So feel a little more sincere interest from those compared to the student that applied because their counselor told them to. So maybe some communication to the schools on how to suggest they encourage their students to do this.
Yeah, no, that's definitely helpful. We did have some information in toolkits that we made available to the school districts. And so something that, yeah, that's another thing. Great point. I'm glad that you brought that up. We can include in the toolkits going into next year. One of the things that we were a little surprised with whenever we looked at the traffic of those users using ApplyTexas, we were assuming that most of the traffic was going to come in the evenings. And actually we saw that we saw the third major bump happen in the evenings, but we saw more of a bump between that 10 to 11 o'clock hour in the morning. And then I think again around 2 to 3 or maybe 1:30 to 2:30. And so we did hear that there were many schools out there that were using this as a part of some of their classroom instruction activities that we were not necessarily aware of in the beginning. So feedback like that is definitely helpful, and we can make sure that we include for next year.
Brandon, Raymond Blakely here with UT Austin. Can you restate the total number of applications submitted during that week, and maybe include the numbers of students who were attempting to apply but were, we were asked to still honor. So what is that total number? Can you repeat that again for me?
So the total number of applications submitted during the week was 263,891. That does not include some of the extensions that we requested of institutions because of the system going down on Sunday evening. And so there were some extensions past then. That number does not encapsulate those extensions.
Thank you so much. And just as a follow-up, this is all good data to have, and it definitely will help us all prepare for the next time this rolls around. You talked about you gave a lot of interesting tidbits regarding the number of schools students applied to and all that. Will any of that information be made available in a very comprehensive way so that we can take a look at it and plan for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. We are working internally to figure out the best way to share that. And once we are able to share that, we'll make sure that this group gets a copy of it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Brandon? I don't want to cut the conversation short, but
Dara, this is Jamie Hansard
thank you,
at
Jamie. Yeah.
Texas Tech University, and I do have a question for Brandon. When will we know information about next year and receive any updates? That's one question and my follow-up to that, and if you said this and I missed it, I apologize and am asking for you to repeat it. But is there any consideration for moving up the date for next year, for the 2027 cycle for the free application week?
Yeah, we won't be able to move it up for next year because that specific week is actually specified in statute, so we're not able to change the week. If that's something that we need to look at in the future, we can add it to maybe our legislative process, but for next year, it will not change. In terms of additional information coming out, it will be that second week of October, and we will begin releasing. I guess I may have to ask Claudette or Jaslyn if they know our timeline on when we'll actually release information in terms of like how to advertise some of the media images and FAQs, some of which will kind of stay similar to what it is now, which are all available on the website. But in terms of the toolkits and whatnot, those will usually come out, I believe, in the August timeline. We can certainly look at moving that up if that's helpful for the institutions.
Okay, thank you for that. And I have one follow-up question to the or additional information to share. We received several applications from the same student, but they applied for multiple terms. So we had students that were applying for fall and spring and summer, and we had students who were high school students, but they applied with the freshman application, but they also applied for the transfer. So we had a significant amount of cleanup. And so I don't know if other institutions experienced that or not, but we did. And if so, if that was an issue with other institutions, then maybe that's something we can consider putting in the notes or whatever that's sent to the high schools. And then if it's just me, then obviously not. But if others think that it would be helpful to petition or ask if we could, in next legislative session, move the date up into, my recommendation would be up into September, then I would ask, is that something that Claudette, we could survey other schools, or what do we need to do to see if that is a possibility? So those are my comments. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. We appreciate that information. And a lot of this feedback is very helpful because we want to make sure that, any concerns or suggestions that y'all are having on your campus, if we can best prepare both students across the state, but then also the ISDs and how they're communicating with students, we make sure we put them in the best situation to do so. So that's definitely helpful. And we can have some internal conversations on what it would look like to move the date. I believe that moving it to September might be difficult. I'm not necessarily opposed that by any means, but just in terms of being able to get to the educators information in a timely way, we'll just have to have some internal conversations on what that would look like and how the impact would be on the field.
Raymond, I see your hand up. Do you have another question for Brandon?
Yeah, so thanks so much, Brandon, and thank you, Jamie, for raising that. I don't know that you were alone in the concerns with the data that was coming over from the students. I think one of the things that was a challenge for us also was the essays. They also were not coming over, so we ended up having to go into the system and bring them down and put them into a PDF. I shared a few of these concerns with Claudette. I'm not going to revisit those. But I think I do want to talk about the idea of making sure that in the communication that goes out to students, while we want to offer this free week, a part of that marketing needs to also state that students who are eligible for fee waivers already, they don't have to rush and apply during this 1 week. My concern is that we received a lot of rush applications, and that will not necessarily benefit students. And so what we tried to do is communicate to students quite a bit that, listen, if you qualify for a fee waiver, you're going to receive that fee waiver. If you'd like to petition for one, let's talk about it. But from just a quick overview, we've seen a few applications that really seem to be rushed. And again, that could also be kind of a reflection of, you know, what's happening at individual schools and not necessarily this entire program, but just something to consider as we're marketing moving forward.
Great, thank you.
I see. Okay, Amanda, you have
Yes.
your hand. Okay.
I wanted to share something Jamie shared. We also had a lot of duplicate applications. More so, maybe they applied already the week before free application week. And so they were applying again during free application week, I guess, to now get their fee waived. We saw a lot of that. And then I was surprised at how many came in for the summer term. And I wouldn't say that's just surprising during free application week, but maybe in the sense of the rushed application of not paying close attention. And so where students are saying they are graduating in May of 2026, but they were applying for spring 2026. And we assume that's a mistake on their part. Seeing an early graduate is pretty rare. So honestly, it's for ApplyTexas in general. In Common App, when a student applies for spring, it asks if they're an early graduate. And so if not, they can go back and change their application to be for summer or fall. And that might be helpful in catching. I think yesterday we had looked, and in 1 week we had to reach out to 100 students and confirm that they actually meant to apply for fall.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Maria, I saw your hand, and I'm sorry if it's in a different order, but Adisela, you'll be next, but Maria.
Just a really quick follow-up on that. I think that that's a great recommendation to take note of the student's application term versus their their graduation year. I think that if there could be logic added that reviews their grad month and year versus their applied term, that could be very helpful in helping to provide additional questions or alerts to the student to clarify on any possible mistakes.
Great, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I lost my video, so I don't know what's happening now with me. But Brandon, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you for the feedback. That's definitely helpful.
Oh,
Adisela, I don't know.
Araceli, okay. Araceli, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. If you want, you can maybe type in, yeah, let's see.
Okay.
You can type in on the chat and we can read it for you. And Amanda, I see you still have your hand up. Do you have another comment or question?
Sorry, I don't. I didn't realize I needed to lower my hand. I'll fix that. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you all for working with us during this time. We really appreciate it. And Araceli, are you planning? I think she's typing. While she's typing, I do want to recognize that, this initiative was implemented very quickly. And as you can see, there was a lot of hype from our applicants wanting to get the numbers reflected that as well. So we are taking note of every recommendation here because this is definitely going to help us create those toolkits and guidance for our K-12 partners so that, they're better prepared, we're better prepared. So we do appreciate this feedback.
Okay. Let's see. There was Adisela dropped in the chat really quick. Just for Brandon, will there be data after applications all submitted, but nothing else submitted to be true applicants? That may be something along the lines that each institution looks at. I'm not sure, Brandon, if that's.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adisela, I'm just reading into that.
I'm not sure exactly what's being asked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Jaslyn. It seems like they're asking, like, you submit the application, but there's also additional documentation needed to actually complete the application. That's not something that we have the ability to track. So you were right in saying that, like, that's something that, like, we would actually be curious to hear from the institutions.
Yes. Okay, I apologize. I no longer have a camera. Not exactly sure, but it is also disabled now. So I will do my best, Claudette, of just seeing you and continuing. So
That
hearing
is great. Thank you.
So Brandon, thank you so much for the information and thank you, committee, for the discussion. I think we're really offering opportunities for our students throughout the state of Texas, and as we'll just continue to learn each year how we work with this program. So thank you for all the excellent feedback, Brandon. Okay, agenda. Thank you. Agenda item 6 is related to Senate Bill 2995 and ApplyTexas. During the 89th Texas Legislature, Texas Education Code Title III, Section 56.0094 was enacted through Senate Bill 2995. It requires all public institutions of higher education to include specific information about gift aid in their admissions application forms or materials. The coordinating board staff received inquiries regarding Senate Bill 2995 and possible changes to ApplyTexas. I will now turn it over to Claudette to provide a brief update.
Thank you. So we wanted just to make sure that you're aware that the coordinating board has published guidance on the institutional requirements that are outlined in this code. It's on the newly established financial aid displacement webpage, sorry. Each institution of higher education is required to include the institution's admission application form or provide in that form a link to the financial aid displacement advisory. The coordinating board also developed that financial aid displacement advisory for use by institutions of higher education, which is also available on that same website, the financial aid displacement webpage. So ApplyTexas serves as the state's primary application for admission to Texas public institutions in higher education. But at this time, there is no plan for modifications in ApplyTexas to include information related to 56.0094C. The coordinating board may work with institutions in the future to determine whether any aspects of the statute's requirements could be incorporated into ApplyTexas. So we just wanted to provide that quick update regarding those inquiries, but I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Tara.
Thank you, Claudette. We will continue and move on to agenda item 7, which are updates on the ApplyTexas system. The ApplyTexas team works to resolve reported issues and implement enhancements to improve the functionality of the ApplyTexas admin, applicant, and counselor suite portals that make up the ApplyTexas system. I'm going to return it to Claudette, who will provide the latest updates.
Thank you again. So as all of you know, the deployment was rescheduled to today. So we do have some of our product team members that were supposed to be here. I think they may be on the call, but I'll just go ahead and pitch it. I'm going to go ahead and share what we wanted to hear. But the most recent deployment includes some improvements to the technical infrastructure of the ApplyTexas system across all the portals. That's what this latest deployment was supposed to include. Overall, there was some additional accessibility updates, and the ApplyTexas product team led some institution interviews to conduct initial discovery to learn more about end-to-end testing opportunity. As a reminder, the ApplyTexas team will continue to host and review maintenance updates after every deployment of each of the portals and the system, and kind of demo some of the latest features or things that have been resolved during the deployment. These demos provide an opportunity to review those updates, any enhancements and changes to system functionality. Because this deployment focused on that back-end technical system improvements, we went ahead and decided to make the next maintenance update and demo move to December 11th, which would be after the not this deployment, but the next deployment that's occurring on December 4th. So I don't have a lot of updates for you today. I do see, I don't know if I should punt it over to anyone on the call, but I just wanted to give you that quick update that we have moved the maintenance and demo to December 11th, but that a lot of the deployment that was happening today was really that back end technical infrastructure improvement. So I will go ahead and turn it back over to Dara for the next agenda item.
Okay, thank you, Claudette. We are moving on to agenda item number 8, which is review and discussion of proposed changes to the ApplyTexas form and procedures. This item is where the ApplyTexas product team will bring forth any items to review with the committee and seek feedback. So I will turn that back over to Claudette and Amy for this discussion.
Thank you again. So it's good that I'm the only one that has the video on, since you're only going to be hearing a lot from me for the remainder of the meeting. But there are a few items that we wanted to bring to the committee for consideration. That include EDI documentation, essay, and then establishing or reestablishing the residency logic subcommittee. Since this is the first meeting of the year, we wanted to really just introduce these items to you for discussion today. We don't have to go into deep dive about this, but we will send a follow-up email with information for your review and feedback. So this will allow you more time to review some of the items that we'll be introducing, and then also connect with any relevant staff that you might have some information regarding these issues. So before we dive into some of the new items that we're going to talk about, I want to provide a few updates on some items that where we sought feedback via email. I believe it was last month or late September. So the ApplyTexas product team sought feedback from this committee, the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee, regarding 2 questions via email. And I believe we had a return or due date of October 17th of 2025. The first item was consideration of adding county field to improve the accuracy of county information in the core questions. And the question was, should it be required, and should it only be for Texas addresses? And the second was, as an admin portal user, how many past semesters would you prefer to see in the drop-down menu? So the ApplyTexas team recommended for this displaying the past 7 years to align with the agency's retention policy, but we were open to feedback. In that email, I did receive 6 responses from the group, and I wanted to provide a quick summary of these. So to reference the first question with the addition of county field and core questions. So overall, the feedback was that you all supported the adding of the county field. However, there were concerns about whether it should be required, because it may create some barriers for applicants who may not know their county. And then there was also a suggestion that it be auto-populated, the county code be auto-populated. Most agreed that the field should be applied only to Texas addresses. However, there was a small interest in collecting county for both Texas and outside of Texas. So that's the update for this one particularly, is that the ApplyTexas team is continuing to refine requirements related to this recommendation at this point. So we did take this feedback into consideration, where we are looking at making it required and auto-populating. There's some technical discovery that's happening with the product team to kind of refine those requirements for that particular issue. So the second question is the number of past semesters displayed in the admin portal. So with that one, there was general agreement overall that 7 years is acceptable. Some preferred fewer semesters for ease of use. But ultimately, I think the recommendation moving forward, based on your feedback, is that we're recommending 3 years. So it's current plus 2 past cycles. This also recommended semesters be displayed in reverse chronological order. So it's the most recent to the oldest. So those are the updates from the 2 items that were sent via email. I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions if you have any. And I think Ronit is on the call. Let me double check. I think she was able to join us, but
Yeah,
Um,
I'm here.
okay.
No,
Yeah. Was there anything else that I missed?
no, that covered everything. I'm happy to
Perfect.
answer
Do we
if
have
there are any
any
questions.
questions? Do we have any questions with those two? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and move on to the new items, and then we do have Ronit and Amy here to help support these as well. But the first one is EDI documentation. I think everybody's excited about this one. The ApplyTexas team is mapping out an MVP EDI documentation for institutions. So you should have received in your meeting materials a copy or a link to this documentation in the meeting materials yesterday. So I'm going to see if I can share a draft. I was also having issues here. Let me see if I can pull this up really quickly. Let's see. I want to share this with you. Technology has been fun for us lately, hasn't it? So let me see if I can share this with you. Okay, so this is, let me make sure that you are seeing what I'm seeing. All right, do you see my screen?
Yes, we do,
Yes.
Claudette.
Okay, perfect. So this is the EDI MVP user guide. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. You should have received a link to this, and you would be able to make some notes here. But we have this kind of mapped out for your review. Any feedback that you have regarding this document was greatly appreciated because we will be utilizing this to determine how future EDI documents will be mapped out. So the goal is to have one of these for each of the application types. So as you can see here, this is the details record, the header record. It's all been mapped out with our team. So if you can provide some notes to us, I know I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but you guys have a link to that. I know we have, in order for us to make sure that we have this information in time for our teams to be able to develop this, we would like to get feedback pretty quickly. This will be, so it's a tight timeline to get that feedback, but we wanted your eyes on it just to make sure we get this right. Again, this is going to be utilized as the guide for future EDI documentation on those other application types. I will be sending a follow-up email to you all, to this group. The timeline that we have for feedback is going to be pretty tight. Like I said, 9 a.m. on Wednesday, November 12th. I'll say that right now, but I will follow up with an email just to see if there's any notes or feedback you can provide to us via email. You can just simply put it in the notes section and send it to me. I'll compile it and give it to our ApplyTexas technical team so that they can review your recommendations and move forward with how we're going to map out future EDI documentation for those other application types. So let's see. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amy to lead our next discussion regarding the essays.
Thanks, Claudette. Appreciate that. Just to briefly introduce myself, my name is Amy Signer. I'm a user experience designer on the product team. So I help with the visual design of these platforms, as well as improving the functionality of various features. And as Claudette mentioned, I wanted to share some updates with you regarding the essay feature in the admin portal. So the ApplyTexas team is looking to make an enhancement that would introduce a new way for admins to manage essays within the application settings panel. So this would allow administrators to turn on essays for undergraduate applications. And once those essays are enabled, admins would be able to review a predefined set of essay prompts
and designate those prompts as required, optional, or not to be used for the upcoming cycle. I'm going to briefly share my screen because I do have a design to show you that is in no way final, still very much a work in progress, but I think it helps to just illustrate some of these controls that we're considering implementing. Okay. And is everyone able to see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So essentially the thinking is that there would be a master essay toggle within the undergraduate application settings. So this is a single high-level setting that would allow admins to enable or disable essays for all undergraduate applications at once, living within that deadlines, fees, and essays section of the application settings. And then at the prompt level, if essays are turned on, admins would have the ability to see this list of prompts. We would make the actual questions more apparent than they are in the current experience. And admins would be able to and need to define a status for each one. So they would need to indicate whether or not the essay was required, which means that that prompt would be presented to students as mandatory, optional. So it would be presented to students as a non-mandatory essay. And then if the essay prompt is indicated as not in use, the prompt would be hidden and wouldn't appear on the application. So if an admin were to enable essays, the system would then require at least one of these prompts to be required or optional in order for the settings to be saved. And there would have to be a status chosen for each one of the prompts. So on the student portal, any selections that are made here would directly control what those students see on the live application. And we are thinking that an additional future enhancement could be to add some tooltips to the student portal to better clarify the difference between an optional versus a required essay. We also want to call out that this new functionality would not affect any existing configurations or behaviors on the graduate side, considering graduate application essays have different controls and follow a separate process from the undergraduate application settings. So this would not impact the graduate level applications. We are going to send everything that I just described to you via email so that you can have some time to review and discuss and see if these recommendations make sense. I can certainly offer this visual reference, but again, want to note that this is in no way complete. It's out of context of the settings page, but just helps to illustrate these suggestions that we have in mind for this feature. So I'll just pause for a moment, see if there are any questions or comments.
You all can come off mute if you'd like to provide any feedback now. And as Amy mentioned, we'll be sending this out via email to you for feedback. Anything else you'd like to share, Amy?
I would just also note that I think in a similar fashion, we're considering and exploring other ways that we might be able to make some of the application settings a little bit more straightforward and easier to update. We recognize that within the current design, and we've heard this from some of the conversations we've had with admissions directors in the past, that you know, these forms are lengthy, editing can be a little bit difficult. So we're exploring different ways that we can make various settings easier to manipulate and update. And as we prepare those proposals, we'll also be bringing those forth to the committee in a similar way, and also will be planning to follow up with some individual admissions directors that we've spoken with in the past about functionality in the admin portal. So I just wanted to mention that, and anything that we're considering, we would also be sharing via email, similar to this enhancement. But with that, I can turn it back over to you, Claudette.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So the final item for this agenda item, is Residency Logic Subcommittee. So the ApplyTexas team wanted to better understand the logic in the residency section of ApplyTexas to make improvements and assist your institutions in getting the correct information from applicants. So we attempted to convene this subcommittee last year. However, we had to pause this work due to legislative changes. We'd like to go ahead and move forward with the subcommittee again to discuss those residency logic mapping. So we're going to be seeking 5 volunteers from both 2-year and 4-year colleges to assist the ApplyTexas product team to improve that residency logic. So we understand that you may have staff from your institutions who may have that experience to make those these recommendations. So if you have someone you'd like to recommend, you can email me their name, title, and contact information so that we can contact them. I still have a list of some that were sent to me last summer, or I think when we had our last meeting. So I have those names, but if you have someone else that you want to reconfirm that they have availability to meet with this group, please send them my way. We can also take nominations here as well, not nominations, but recommendations here if you'd like to go ahead and sign up for that committee. The goal of the subcommittee is really to provide that discovery for the ApplyTexas product team to improve that skip logic in that residency section. We know that it's really valuable to you, and we want to make sure to get this right. So hearing from those that do have experience with that section would be really helpful to help the product team move forward. So I'll go ahead and open up right now for any recommendations. If anyone would like to submit a name, your name, or someone from your teams. Again, you can also email those to me if you don't have those readily available. Feel free to come off mute.
Claudette, please include me, Maria, Amarillo College.
Perfect. I think I have you from last time, Maria Juarez, and then Araceli, I do see you in the chat as well. So I'll put your name down.
And Claudette, I will still have, if available, Maribel Gonzalez will be part of that because, yep.
Thank you for that. Okay. Ramon, I got that as well. I'm sorry. Helton, I have Jamie Helton from UT Austin. And if you can send me their contact, their name, title, and contact information so I have it, that'd be really helpful. But I'm jotting down these names as well. Okay, thank you so much for that. Again, email me any recommendations you might have. You have my email address. So I will go ahead and turn it back over to you, Dara.
Okay, thank you, Claudette. Thank you, Amy and Claudette, for all of the effort and time that the team is putting in for improvements to the application platform. We appreciate that. Agenda item 9 is discussion on our next meeting date. So, of course, we want to thank you for participating during, for many of you, your first ApplyTexas Advisory Committee of the year. Before we end the meeting, we like to open up to ask the committee for potential agenda items and potential meeting times. So what we would do at this time is if anyone has agenda items they would like to have added for our next meeting.
And just remember, you can always email them to us as well. We'll do a call out when we start asking you for confirmation of meeting dates. We can ask for those agenda items also. So if you don't have anything now, we can always take them at a later time as well.
Of course. And so the coordinating board, Claudette and the team, they strive to coordinate our meetings with each of us as early as possible. The committee is required to meet 2 times a year. However, depending upon need, the committee has the ability to meet 3 or 4 times a year. And so would the committee like to discuss potential meeting dates for the next meeting? I would like to encourage that we potentially have an in-person. There's a lot of things that are happening and a lot of things that have continue to be worked on, and that maybe an early winter, as in February, early March might be a good time for an in-person meeting, and then a final meeting in that late April, May time period. But does the committee have any dates at this time that they would like to suggest as options? Or also communicate whether in-person or remaining virtual is a direction we want to go. If there's anything. If not, I know Claudette and the team always send out surveys, but if there's feedback right now, it's great to hear that feedback on our meeting.
Yes, absolutely. Just knowing if you can't tell us a specific date now, tell us dates to stay away from, just because we know that there are conferences or, events that your schools might be having that during certain time periods of the year. So it's helpful for us to narrow down that information, specific dates when we know that information.
There is a chief enrollment managers officers meeting the first Thursday and Friday of February, so those would not be good dates.
Thank you, David. Okay, I'm going to give a few more seconds and then we're going to move on. Is that okay, Claudette?
Yeah, certainly. Right now, we just know that we're going to stay away from the first week in February. And like Dara said, there's typically an interest in meeting more than 2 times a year. The committee's met anywhere between 3 to 4 times a year. So the meeting cadence would be in the fall and then again in early spring. It's been in February. I think the February dates that have worked the best were late February. And I don't want to say 27th, 28th, but we'll definitely have to look. If there's no opposition to those dates, we can propose those dates in a survey, similar to how we've done recently when our colleague Deanna Foos sends out a survey to ask if what dates work for you. So we usually give a couple of date ranges, but we'll be looking at a February date unless you guys want to meet in April. But is there any interest in meeting in February and April, or just April? That would be something that would be helpful for us to know as well.
I kind of hate to put off the February meeting, not knowing if there might be topics that come up between now and then.
Absolutely.
I agree. Especially if there are things that need to be put in place for or impacted for the next cycle. February gives us a lot more lead time to have those conversations. So I would love to have a February meeting.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely send that. I'm seeing some confirmations in the chat as well from Jorge and Araceli. So yes, we'll move forward with the February date, and we'll send some February dates and maybe early March. We try to stay away from March because of spring break. That's time that our institutions start going on spring break schedules. But we'll send out a February date, and then maybe we can also solidify an April date. But we'll send that out as well. Any interest in meeting in person? That's another question that we have. We used to have these meetings in person regularly until pre-COVID. If there is interest, that will definitely be something we have to coordinate pretty quickly. So is there interest in meeting in person?
Somewhat selfishly, I will chime in and just say that virtual is definitely a little bit easier to work around, a little bit easier to schedule around, but no strong preference. It's always fun post-COVID to get together in person.
Thank you for that feedback, Megan. And I think I see some Araceli in the chat said if we have a date that's early, no earlier than there's an interest in meeting in person. It could be that we meet in April in person, but anyone else have anything to share? Okay, so what we can do is we'll send a survey out to you with some potential dates. And then we'll also include in the survey whether there's an interest in meeting in person or virtually so that we can get a consensus from the group. So thank you for that. We can go ahead and move on.
Okay, thank you, Claudette. It is our final agenda item. Agenda number 10 is adjournment. This concludes the business of the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee for November 6, 2025. If there is no further discussion, if anybody has anything they need to bring up, I'll give just a few minutes for anyone to say anything else or bring up anything that we need to discuss.
I will quickly say I do appreciate each and every one of you for hanging in with us through these technical challenges. This is not an ideal situation, and for those of you that are new to the committee, we have it runs a little bit smoother. So I do want to welcome you, but thank you for your patience and working with us during this time. And that's all I wanted to share. But thank you for being with us today. We'll send that information out, the follow-up emails with the information out. So please be on the lookout for that. It will have some dates of when we need some information returned to us, but we do appreciate your contributions. And I'll turn it back over to you, Tara, for the end.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much. So with that being said, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn. David Barron, UT Tyler.
Thank you, David. I have a motion made by David to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I second motion, Jorge Dimas, Roberto College.
I have a second made by Jorge Dimas from Laredo College. We'll do it this way. We will not show hands. I will wait. If there are any no's, I'll let people say no. Otherwise, we will go by consent and we will adjourn the meeting. Do we have any no's? Okay, I'm going to say motion passes and this meeting is adjourned at 11:26 a.m. Thank y'all so much for being on today. We truly appreciate it and we look forward to the next meeting time. Thank you.